James Mack Comedy wants to know, what is your point of view on flat tax? So to be completely honest with you, I actually don't really know a whole lot about the economy. So when you first asked this question, I had to look up what flat tax was in order to formulate my own opinion on this. So from what I understand, from what I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, I am totally a newbie at really anything like societal, like history, politics, economics. I'm pretty new at these things, so I have a lot to learn. But from what I understand, flat tax is basically saying that everybody gets taxed the same percentage of their income. That's what I read and what I understand from it. So for example, no matter what your income is, even if you make 10 grand a month, you get taxed 20% of that. Or if you make 2,000 a month, you get taxed 20% of that. As far as I know, that's what it means. So I will answer the question based on that knowledge. So this is interesting because I actually, and like I said earlier, I don't know a whole lot about the economy, so I feel like I can't really give a good answer to this because there could be things about the economy that are more complex than I could see or than I can understand. So this is purely an opinion-based answer. But my opinion is that I see a benefit to both things. I do see a benefit to having flat tax, but I also see a benefit to taxing people based on their income, meaning taxing poor people less and taxing wealthy people more. I see a benefit to both. I'll explain why I see a benefit to both, and then I will ultimately choose which one I lean more towards. So that's how I'm going to break this down. I see a benefit to flat tax because I feel like sometimes when things are very complex, and I would imagine that the economy is one of those things that is very complex, sometimes it's easier just to create a rule, just to say, okay, like this is out of control. We can't come to an agreement on this. Like, let's just create a rule so there's no hard feelings and everything's fair. That I understand. On the other hand, I also see why that could be unfair because, for example, if we are taxed based on our income, backtrack. If we are taxed based on flat tax, right? Like, let's say it's 20% just for the sake of the conversation. I can see how this could be a problem because if you're somebody who makes 30 grand a month and you get taxed 20% of your income, I don't know what the actual figures are. Like I don't know what 20% of 30 grand is without a calculator, and I'm using my phones to film this. But I do know that at the end of the month, you're still going to have a decent amount of money for your life. And I do know that somebody who only makes 2 grand a month, if you tax them 20%, it's already hard enough to make a living with 2 grand a month. So to me, it almost seems criminal to like almost take anything from them. You know what I mean? So, but then again, you have to pay taxes. Like it's a duty of Americans. So to me, this is kind of like, again, one of these things that it's like, I do see why both sides are valid. I'm going to lean more towards not a flat tax. I'm going to lean more towards income-based tax because, like I said, it doesn't seem fair to me that somebody who is only making 2 grand a month should be taxed the same number as a wealthy person. And I would imagine the counter argument to that is, well, fuck you. Like, if I'm wealthy, I had to work hard to get there. Why should I be penalized for that? My counter argument for that is I am somebody who struggles with my bills. I would say I'm doing a little better now, but it's something I've definitely struggled with as an adult woman, paying my own bills. And I want to become wealthy one day. And I know that sounds kind of selfish or arrogant or something, or evil. I don't know. But I would like to become wealthy one day, just simply for the fact that I don't want to struggle for the rest of my life. I want creative freedom, and I want to not worry about like taxes and by taxes I mean like not having enough money to pay for them. I don't mean like not paying for them. I just mean like as somebody who makes less than 5 grand a month. I'm not going to say what my actual income is, but like it is less than 5 grand a month. As somebody who gets paid less than 5 grand a month, I'll tell you, when tax season comes and I have my own business and I have to pay it, sometimes it's hard for me to save enough money to even pay my own taxes. And that's fucking scary. And so I would like to become wealthy just so I don't run into that problem. And by the way, I understand that sometimes wealthy people also run into that problem. Sometimes when people like first start making money, they don't really consider the taxes and they just like start spending their money, and then they get hit with this tax bill at the end of the year and they're like, oh fuck. So I think because I've already experienced this as a low income person, I feel more prepared that if I were to become wealthy, I wouldn't have this issue, because now I understand like the pitfalls of that. But what I'm getting sidetracked. What I'm getting at here is I would like to become wealthy one day so I could stop worrying. And if I were wealthy, I would want to pay taxes. I would want to pay more taxes, because that's like, to me, that's one of the goals of becoming wealthy, is to help society. Otherwise, what would be the point of becoming wealthy if you're just like keeping all that wealth to yourself? I feel like that's completely pointless. And I also understand that in order to become that wealthy, you kind of have to be selfish to a degree, because a lot of people who become super wealthy, they have to think about just themselves and they have to do evil things in the process. So it's like a really complex and tricky situation. And also, from what I understand, and this is just hearsay, I don't know if this is true, from what I understand, people who are somewhat wealthy pay a good amount of taxes, and people who are extremely wealthy somehow are in this loophole where they don't have to pay taxes, barely, is what I've heard. Like, that's the word on the street about that, which I think is like, again, I think it's fucked up. Like, if I were wealthy, one of my goals would be to somehow use my wealth to give back to society in some type of way. So I don't understand why people wouldn't want to pay more taxes. It just, I don't know. It's a complex issue, and it's one that I would have to like read about more and understand both sides on. Like, maybe there is a reason why a wealthy person would object to paying more taxes than somebody with a low income. Maybe they have a valid reason for that and I'm just not seeing it. But personally, because I'm coming from the perspective of somebody who's struggled to pay my bills, I have more compassion for people in my situation. So I would love to be wealthy, and then I would love to use that wealth to help people that have been in the same situation as me. So I feel like I rambled a little bit with that answer, but long story short, I do see a good perspective and a good argument for either case, but ultimately I would lean more towards charging poor people less on the taxes and charging wealthy people more. So I don't know. That's where I stand with that, but my mind could be changed if I have convincing evidence otherwise. Okay, next question.